Hello and welcome back to our Makada online training. Today we're going to be having a different kind of class, all right? So we're not taking our dressmaking as usual. We're going to be teaching you, or I am going to be teaching you how to make a tote bag, okay? So like I said earlier, and as usual, my name is Nita and I'm going to be your bag making instructor for today. And this is as normal on Makada online training. Please, if you haven't subscribed to our channel, please do that. Do subscribe, follow us, all right? So I'm going to be uploading a whole lot of bag making videos. I've actually been teaching bag making for the past 7 years, though I haven't taught it on my channel, but I teach it physically in the school, and I thought it wise or right to bring it on our channel, right? So you can also learn my own way of bag making. I'm sure you've watched a whole lot of videos online. I have as well, and so we already know what we're doing, right? But I believe that learning the different kinds of methods still helps improve more on your skills, right? Or you add more to what you already know. So that's the essence of this anyway. So it's nothing new, but I believe it's an added advantage. Okay, so you're welcome once more. If you're just joining my channel, I believe we're going to have fun together. Like I always say, what you think we're not doing right, please let us know, and I'll actually try to correct it or give an answer to it. Okay, so please do like my channel, subscribe, follow me, click on that notification icon, so whenever I upload a video you will get it. Okay, so right back to our class. All right, so we're going to be making a tote bag, and I had to bring this just to give you an idea of what I'm going to be making, right? It's not exactly this design. I'll actually still put something on the screen for you to see what we're actually working on. So what a tote bag is, just like your everyday bag anyway. So but it comes in different ways, different shapes, sizes and all, but it's all the same bag, right? Manipulated in so many different ways. So some tote bags can have sides to it, some have gussets to it, some have bases to it, and then you have them coming with attached base or cut together base, right? So this is a base for a tote bag. This is attached, right? So you actually cut your bag, then you cut this out, and then you can sew on or you can glue on. However, there are a whole lot of methods to this. Once you understand the basics of bag making, there is nothing you can't actually do. All right, so for the cut together, you actually create the base. The base is created, it's not cut and put. So you cut out the fabric and then you create the base to it. The base is actually what helps the bag to sit. So you should naturally have the base. So at times you attach, and at times also you have the false base, right? So that's not, is it really false? No, because you can actually cut your hard board and then put inside. That is when you're cutting the cut together base with the bag. All right, so as we go on, I'm going to be taking all these bags, all these kinds or different types of bags, so you would actually understand it. But for today, we're going to be starting with our attached base tote bag, and it's not going to be one bag handle. You can actually have one, but this is going to be two. So I just wanted to show you this, so you just have an idea of what I'm going to be working with. Okay, so moving on. What are our working tools? More often than not, I prefer to work with metal rulers, right? They are better because you're going to be working with gum and all that, so metal works far better. So you need your angle ruler. I'll get that to show you. I've been trying to look for where I kept mine. All right, so I have my straight ruler, I have my curve. You can actually get a flexible curve, right? So that makes it, you can actually twist it to anywhere you want it to be. So I have my rulers here. I have my gum, some people call it the cement gum. In Nigeria, we call it Evo stick. Actually had to put it in here. So this is like my oil bottle. You can actually get containers that you can put in, your Evo stick. This works better for me here in Nigeria. If you're here, especially in Lagos, I mean, this is like the container for your machine oil. So pour it out, clean it up, and then pour in your Evo stick in here. It preserves it and it works well, and it has a little hole, so it helps the gum not to spread too much, so you can direct it how you want it. Okay, so I have my measurement tape. This is so very important, of course, you know. So this is what you're going to use to take all our measurements. All right, I have my pen. When I'm making bags, I work more with pen, though I have my pencil, but this is more for illustration purposes, like when I'm drawing and trying to explain, so I can clean if I make any mistake. But when I'm working on the hardboard, I work with my pen. All right, I have my cutting knife. Right, I'm not really a fan of cutting knife. I tried, but I mean, if you can work with it, please use it. I always have it handy. All right, but what my cutting knife can do for me, my scissors can. So I'm more used to my scissors. So you have your scissors as one of your working tools. More importantly, you have your cutting mat. A lot of people call this a self-healing mat, right? Basically, when you're working with the self-healing mat or cutting mat works because it doesn't skip scratches on your table. That's the essence of that. All right, and then I have my cutout, my offsets. So these are like offsets. You can actually work with shipboard. When you're trying to create, I work a lot with patterns. I make patterns for my bags. You know, that's what works for me. All right, so to create these patterns, you have your hardboard. All right, so you can work with shipboard. You can work with offset cuts. Now, what are these offsets? Like when you go to the printer, there are times they make mistakes with their printing, and then these ones are like, we don't need them anymore. They are like throwaways and all that because they've already been cut for what they want to use it for. So that's why we call it offsets. All right. So that's what I use to create my patterns. Like I said, you can work with your shipboard. Okay. So to start up with this class, we're going to start with measurement. So what's the measurement for your Tote bag? Okay, now sitting on the table, you can take the height. You call it height, length, height, but I think for the bags you can stick to height. So you can decide what the height of your bag will be. Like this bag now, from top to bottom is 8.5 inches. You can use that. It depends on what you want. But for this class, I'm going to be working with a bigger bag, so I'm going to be working with 13 inches, right? So we're going to be having our height to be 13 inches, and we're going to be having our width. Our width is like the whole bag, how big you want it to be. So in my own case, I want it as big as 15 inches, right? Like I said, please use what you think you're okay with. This is I just love big bags, right? So you can work with a smaller measurement. So for the bag width, we are going to be working with 15 inches. Now, for this bag, we're not having any attached side. We're just joining the side together. But in as much as we're joining the side together, we expect to have a curvy look like this. So if I'm going to have this curvy look, I am going to add whatever I'm bringing into this place to my width measurement. Now the measurement I told you I'm taking, the 15 inches is just from here to here. I did not add this curvy part to it. So for this curvy part, I'm going to be taking this whole part here is going to be 4 inches for me. I just want it to be 4 inches at this point. So that means I'm going to divide it into two because I'm just working with one side. Once I cut this side, it will as well give me this part. So now, if I'm saying I want 4 here, that means I'll be having half of it is 2. So I'm going to add these 2, half of it on this side and half of it on this side. So you have 2 here and you have 2 here. So I have 4. I'm going to add that 4 to whatever measurement I'm using as my width. So if I'm using 15 inches plus 4, I'm going to be having 19. So the width of this whole bag for me on one side is going to be 19. Please note, when I took the measurement, it's from here to here. That is my 15 inches. But my bag is still going to have a side, but it's not a cutout side. It's just a side that is going to be there. That my side, your side can be 3 inches. It doesn't have to be 4. It can be between 2 to 4 to whatever. So if you're using 2 inches, you're going to take only 1. You're going to take half of it because we are trying to create a pattern. And to create a pattern for this bag, we're using just half of it. So whatever we cut out here, we're cutting it times 2. It will give us this side and this side together, okay? So since I am using 4 inches here, because I just want the bag to have room on the inside, I'm going to be using half of it, which is 2 inches. Now note, this bag has 2 sides, 1, 2. So I'm going to take half of this side and add to my 15, half of this side and add to my 15. So that is going to give me a full width, if I'm opening it, of 19 inches. And the height I told you I'm using is 13 inches. Now for that height, I'm going to add my sewing allowance to it, right? ½ inch for joining at the top and ½ inch for joining at the down. That makes it 1. So I'm going to be having 13 plus 1 inch. So that means I'll be having 14 inches as my height. Okay? So now, initially I had said I had a height of 13. So 13 plus 1 inch for sewing allowance will give me 14. And then my 15 width plus 4 inches is going to give me 19. Please watch this video over again, then you can ask me your questions. Now, let me just quickly do a sketch of what we're making, all right? So this is a bag with a base. This will be the attached base for the bag, okay? And this is the top of the bag. The bag is going to have, that's going to be the hand that will carry it, right? So this is actually what we're doing. And I said the height of this bag, like this, is going to be 13 inches. But we're going to add a sewing allowance. Mind you, we're cutting. We're not just carrying the bag to put. We're going to cut it. So when we cut it, we need to sew it. We're joining it with something, isn't it? To give it a neat finishing. So whatever, we're going to add ½ an inch here to join and ½ an inch at the base. That gives us 1. So that means 13 plus 1 is equals to 14. So that means the total height we're going to have is 14 inches. Now for the width of the bag from here to here, we said we're taking 15 inches. But this bag is going to have a side. The side is just going to come with the bag because we are joining. This bag has a joining. So that joining part we are going to have is 2 inches. Here is 4 inches, but divided by, because one side, we're working with one side. And then on this side too, we're going to have another 2 inches. So here, 2 inches, here, 2 inches. So if we add that plus 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, so we have a total of 19 inches for the width of a bag. Okay. So now, what we are going to be cutting out is going to be the first box, right? Which is our main. Okay. So the main for your width is going to be 19 inches. And then your height is going to be 14 inches, right? The second thing we are going to be cutting out is going to be the lining piece, all right? So this is the lining piece. Now, for this lining piece, we are going to take out our facing. So this is the whole lining piece. First of all, the lining piece is still the same 19 inches in width, and in height is still 14 inches. But we are going to take off a bit from here. I'll use another bag and explain to you. Now, the inside is going to have a lining, right? Have you seen? This is the main bag. This is the lining piece, right? Now, the lining is supposed to be cut all the way, but we now ended up having a facing. If this lining had come all the way up, what you keep seeing here is the lining, and it doesn't really look nice. So you're going to cut off a part of that lining and rather attach a facing to it. It is that facing that you're joining back to the lining that we're taking 1.5 inches. And then we're going to have another attachment for the zip. It is that attachment also we're going to be creating as 1.5 inch. So the facing is the same length with the whole bag, with the whole lining, the same as in bag, main fabric, and it's the same width rather, let me not say like, it's the same width, okay? It's only the part of the zip that will be less. Okay, like I said, take your time and watch this again. So from here, from the top, we're going to minus 1.5 inches off the lining. So this part is going to be the main. We're going to use main to cut this. And then from here, right, which is our 14, right? From the 14, we've taken off 1.5. So what do we have left? Whatever is the remaining is what we're going to have at this point. So that is what is forming your lining piece. So after this, we're now, this one I'm going to transfer it here. So we're now having another piece, which is your main. You know, from here to here is 1.5 inches, but we're going to add sewing allowance to it on the down part. We already have the sewing allowance at the up, so we don't need that one. But this place that we're cutting, you know, we're cutting it off at this point. We need to add a sewing allowance that we're joining it back. So 1.5 plus half an inch, we're going to be having 2 inches. That's what we're going to have for the length now of that thing we are cutting out, but the width still remains our 19 inches. Then we now have the last piece, all right? Not really the last piece, but that's the zip piece, all right? So for that zip piece, we are still going to have the same 2 inches, but the width is going to be less because our zip cannot get to the end of. So we're going to minus 4 inches from 19. Okay, so when you take out 4 from 19, whatever we have left is what we're going to have at this point. So having said this, we're going to translate it, and of course we'll also create our pocket piece. Our pocket piece is 7 inches in width by 7 or 8, whichever one you choose. So we'll create that, you know, as we go along. Okay, so I've taken the liberty to cut out. First of all, it's going to be a pretty quick video, so let's start the cutting. Okay, so I've taken the liberty to cut off. These two cutouts is actually the same. Okay, so we'll end up using one as the main. All right, so from here to here, I have my 19, which is my width. So from here to here, that's my 19 inches, and from here to here is my 14 inches. All right, so from here I have my 14. All right, so I'll call this my main. So the cutout for this, I'll write cut times 2. So you're cutting this in 2 places, right? For the other side and for this side. So we're done with our main. So I'll just keep that aside. So remember we talked about the lining piece. The lining piece is exactly the same thing as the main, okay? For now, so I'll explain. 19 by 14 inches, okay? So 19 is the width and 14 is the height. So like I had said, we're going to take out our facing for that bag from here, right? And we're meant to take out 1.5 inches. Okay, so from the top part, you're meant to take out 1.5 inches. You can do up to 2. That's what I said. It all depends on how you want this place to look. So probably I'm going to even do 2 because I just want it to be, you know, that means that's where your zip is going to stay. So if it's 1.5, your zip is going to stay up here. So it's all you. Be creative about it. So let's say I'm taking 2. I've marked at 2. Okay. So I'm taking 2 inches off. So if I'm taking 2 inches off, right? Don't forget, I can't just cut off at 2 inches. I will need a sewing allowance for this because if I'm dividing this from this, I need to join it back. So what am I joining it with? Half of an inch. Okay, so I'll add my half inch there before I cut it off. So that's going to be my joining allowance. Okay, so that is my joining allowance. So now what I have as a leftover is 12 plus that joining allowance. I'm having 12.5. So now from here to here is now my lining my lining, and you're still going to cut times 2. So I'm going to cut that part off now. So that is our lining piece. So this is our main piece, this is our lining piece, and have you seen our lining piece is less our main piece. So I'm going to show you how to cut that facing that we're going to join back to the lining piece. So we'll pick another of our offcuts. So I'm going to take a measurement. We're still having the same 19, nothing is different. So I'm going to mark at 19. So that's the whole width that we're having, 19 inches. Now remember what we did there, what we took out there is 2 inches. But we're going to add our sewing allowance to the 2 inches. So I've marked 2 and I'm adding half an inch to join it back. So 2, 2.5 for joining. For joining. So I'll turn that into a straight line. Okay, first of all I need to draw up my line. Okay. So I'll turn this into a straight line. So I'll cut that out now. Cut it out and I'll show you. So I've been able to cut that out. Okay, so we have our width of 19 and we have our length of 2.5 inches. Okay, so that's our facing for the bag. Okay, so the next thing is the zip. What's the facing for the zip? So like I said, before you always cut, please check and make sure that your paper aligns. So I like drawing a line, or I like checking, so I don't even need to. So the paper at that edge aligns, alright? So I'm still going to take, now I'm minusing, like I had said, what we have there is 19, right? So this is 19. So we need to take out 4 inches from it, so that our zip doesn't get to the edge of the bag. So we're having 15 inches, right? So we have to take 15 for this, and it's not enough. So I'm going to add paper and then I'll come back and show you. Okay, so I've been able to join my paper. So I'll now take 15 inches. We're still having not enough, so let's still join a bit more paper. So I've joined my paper with the elbow stick. So I need to just, let me be sure that that line is straight, alright? Okay, so let's take our 15 now. Okay. So we have our 15. We need the joining allowance, so I'll just take 15.5. Just almost exhaust that, so I'll take 15.5. So I don't want it too short, and we're still going to be taking the same 2.5. all right, 2 inches, that's what we're using, but half. This time around, right, it's on its we're joining also to the inside and to the outside. All right, so in this case, let me explain. So this is what we're trying to draft now, this particular one here. Okay, so because I may be likely sewing and turning, right, so I need my half an inch up and the one I'm sewing inside here. So if I'm taking 2 here, I may likely take 1.5. Do you understand? It doesn't necessarily have to be 2. So, but if I'm taking 1.5, I need to add half an inch up and half down. So that would be 2.5 inches that I'll be taking for this part. So I'll measure down my 2.5, and I'll do the same thing here. All right. So translate it into a straight line, and we will cut out. Okay. So having done this, you can now label it and call it for your zip part. So all these things, you label them so that you know when the pieces are too much, you know, you need to know what is for what. All right. So just take your scissors with love and patience, and then cut it out. So align properly. I'm just cutting this. I would have actually cut off camera, but I just want you to also see the cutting process. All right. So this is moving a bit. I need to arrange that. So please always allow your gum dry bits. All right. So I'm done with the zip parts. All right. So these are the pattern pieces that we have. We have the zip, we have the facing, all right, and we have the lining piece, okay, and we have the main piece. So on this main piece, okay, maybe let's start with the lining piece first. We'll soon be done. So on the lining piece, right, you can now mark where your zipper, you're going to be putting your zip. So in this case, you can actually find the midpoint, you know. So this is 19, right? So I'm dividing 19 by 2, and I have 9.5, okay? So I'll just try to find my midpoint and just make some markings. So this is my midpoint. Now, this pattern is about 14 inches. So I'm placing my tape at the bottom here. I'm placing it at the 14, okay, plus my half an inch. And then from the top, I'm going to come down to wherever I want my zip to be. In this case, I want my zip to be around 5 inches, right? So I will mark at the 5 inches point. Remember, I said I kept this edge at the length, the full length of this bag. That's what I did. And I marked, just looks for my 5 inches point at this point. It is at that point I'm going to be having my zip. The zip for the lining. Now that zip is 7 inches. Remember, I had said we should find the midpoint of this, which we did, which is at this point, okay, where I'm marking this star. That's the midpoint. So I'm going to divide that 7 inches by 2, which is 3.5, okay, and mark them. So that is where my zip is going to be. Part is going to be this, like this is it. So I put my 3.5 at that star I marked, the center of this paper, and mark this way 3.5, this way 3.5, which gives me my 7 inches for the zip, okay? And then from there, I will now mark down however long you want your zip to be. Mine is stopping at 5 inches from this star, okay? So I'll translate it into a straight line. So this now, where I'm marking now, is going to be where my pocket piece is going to stay. And I'm creating a zipper piece of, you can make it half an inch. Like that's going to be where your zip is going to sit in, okay? And still make sure that you're having your 7 inches, please. You're not going far from it. You're just creating a box at that point. So that is where the zip for the lining is going to stay, and the lining is going to be just about 5 inches. Okay, so this is where your zipper for the lining will be. Okay, so just follow what I have said. So having done that, I'll now come finally back to my main piece. Okay, so I've taken my main piece again. So for the main piece also, to probably create where you're going to be having your handle, you're going to still divide your bag, find your midpoint of your bag. You know, like I said, this is 19, so my midpoint is at about 9.5. You can just mark them at different points just for you to know where your midpoint is. All right, so this is where I'm marking the star is like my midpoint. So from there, the midpoint, like my bag, is going to be the space between my bag handle is going to be 6 inches, right? So maybe from here to here has to be 6. So how do I create that? I'm going to get it from the midpoint, meaning that from here this way is going to be 3 inches, from here this way is going to be 3 inches. So I'm going to place my 3 inch there, my 3 inches at this point, to find where I'm going to be putting my bag handle. Now all this also depends on you. Remember that our bag is 15 inches. Don't forget that we have 2 inches coming to the side, and we have another 2 inches coming to the side. All right, so this is all what your bag is. The front of your bag, this is just what they will say, where my 2 thumb is, that's what will be seen. So that means the handle, now my handle is going to be staying between somewhere here to here. So 6 is perfect. You can do more. Okay, so in that case, I'll place this at 3 and try to find where my 6 is. So this is it, right? So this is where my bag handle is going to be. So from the top, remember you have ½ an inch sewing allowance, so take that into consideration. So we're going to come down 3.5 this way, 3.5 this way. So without that sewing allowance, that would have been 3 inches. So that's where we're going to place our bag handle. So I'm going to create something at that point just to let you know that that is where the bag handle is going to stay. Right? So I'm just trying to create something there. So like what I'm creating is just something to indicate to me that that is where I'll be having my bag handle. Okay. I don't have a bag design in my head, you know, so but that tells me that I have a bag handle at that point. Now finally, before we are done with our pattern class, I am going to be having 2 different fabrics here. So the down part is going to be leather and the up part is going to be Ankara. I can actually also make this up part to be Ankara, to be leather, and make the down part to be Ankara, whatever you choose. So for the place I'm going to be adding Ankara to, I'm going to mark it out. So I'm going to be taking about 5 inches to add my leather to it, because I just want it to be a combination of leather and Ankara. So I'm going to draw a line at that point. So from here to here is going to be leather, and from here to here is going to be Ankara fabric. So it all depends on however you want it. This is what I want. You can as well make this leather, make this Ankara, however That's why I said for the handle I haven't decided on the design, because it may be Ankara handle and all that. So when we get there we will decide. So far this has been just the pattern drafting. So the next class we're going to be having is going to be cutting this pattern on fabric and sewing our bags. So like I had said earlier, please watch this video over and over again, and you will actually understand, you will get to understand it the more you watch it. And if you have any questions, please do ask. I'm always here to answer. And please, if you haven't subscribed to our channel, before I even say anything, thank you, to all our subscribers. Some have been sending messages, I need to get on your personal channel, watch more videos and all that. Thank you so much. I appreciate your even doing this. It means a lot to me, and I'm really, really encouraged. Please, wherever you think I need to assist you, do get to me, and I'm always available to do that. And for those that haven't yet subscribed, please do subscribe to our channel. Give me a thumbs up, like, share the videos. I know there are people also that would want to make this a very detailed and extensive bag making class. That's what it's really going to be a teaching, like you really need to understand what you're doing. Okay, so get people in here. Please share to them, and do ask them to also subscribe to this channel. Okay, so my name has been Nita, as always, and I am your online instructor, and this has been a Markadel online training, and I will be seeing you in fabric cutting and sewing of this bag, our Tote bag. Okay, so have you a blessed day, and see you in the next class.